Hey friends, come on.
It's time for the show.
It's MEDU.
The CM Hangout, hosted by CatholicMom.com.
Hello and welcome to another CM Hangout by CatholicMom.com. I'm Erica Marie and I'm really excited to be here for our third episode. Everything has been going really well and we're excited to offer this to you, give you a little break in your day, get a chance to know us all a little bit better, and as we talk about all things related to faith and family and fun. And thank you for all the love that we've gotten for this, all your comments, all your retweets, all your likes. Keep it coming. If you have any comments or suggestions for any future shows, email us at lisa@catholicmom.com. And today I have to apologize. This is actually the second recording that we're doing for this. We just had a great show and realized at the end that it was not recording. So we're doing this for our second time. Unfortunately, my co-host, Sarah Reinhardt, was with us. She did a great job. But because of my inability to make sure we were going live, she had to go ahead and go, and so wasn't able to rejoin us. So hopefully we'll catch Sarah again the next time. So today I am welcoming our guests. They are new to the Catholic Mom community. We have David and Mercedes Riso. Welcome, David and Mercedes.
Hi, Erica.
Hi, Erica.
It's good to see you again. I'm glad that you guys were able to stay on and do this again. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us about how you came to CatholicMom.com.
Well, we had our publisher, Loyola Press, had said, maybe we can introduce you to the folks, Lisa Hendy and others at CatholicMom.com. And a couple of years ago, they said you could do a guest blog, and we were able to do a nice little guest blog, and then over the years we started following, and then we recently did a couple more blogs, guest blogs, and then here we are now as Catholic Mom bloggers.
Yeah, we're married 25 years in November, and we are the parents of 4 children. We have 2 sons that are 22 and 20, and we have 2 daughters that are 16 and 14. And one of our daughters, Danielle, you might actually hear her in the background a little bit. She just walked in from school. She has autism, and she's nonverbal, so we're a special needs family as well.
Great. Well, I'm so glad to have you guys here. I read your first article. I think it was called I Have More to Say. Is that right? Yes.
Yes, that's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
I loved it because I'm sure you have more to say. I know she probably has a lot to say that we may not know. And you have such an important voice for so many parents these days that are, having to deal with the special needs. So thanks so much for being here with us.
Well, thank you. We're glad to be here.
Yes, we're very happy to be here.
Good. Well, when Sarah was with us, we played this little game, and we're just going to do this again where we ask our guests, well, this is the first time we've had guests, so you're the first ones to do this with us, where we ask you a random question and kind of go from there. So perfect timing as everyone's doing a pilgrimage to the Philadelphia area and the New York area to visit the Pope and for the World Meeting of Families. Mm-hmm. My question to you guys, if you could take a pilgrimage together anywhere, no matter, don't think about money or healthiness or anything like that, where would you guys go?
Well, I think we would pull on our ancestry, and Ireland and Italy would be at the top of our list. We've talked about going to Ireland and Italy for a long time. Haven't gotten there yet, but just the places like in Ireland, but Lady of Knock would be wonderful. The Sistine Chapel, and I'm sure you want to elaborate.
I've been to Italy, and I've been to Assisi, and I would love to go back and just walk where St. Francis walked, and it's just such a beautiful and prayerful place. And also, of course, I would love to go to the Vatican and to see the Sistine Chapel and all the wonderful sites there for pilgrims.
Yeah, I love the idea of going on pilgrimages. I think I would have to take a whole year off of my life, though, to really enjoy everything. There's so much to see, like the Vatican. Can you imagine all the artwork that you would have to stop and look at. It would probably take me days just to see it all.
I think it would.
Yeah.
It might take a whole year. That might
Yeah,
be your
very nice.
year.
Yeah.
Be beautiful, breathtaking.
Yes. I know we talked about doing like a year-long pilgrimage. That would be really fun.
That would be great.
Maybe when our kids are older, huh?
Well, we're getting there. Our kids are
Our
getting
kids are older.
Older and maybe out of the house, or at least having someone able to be with them.
Right.
Definitely.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's been so fun getting to know you guys, talking with you over the weekend, and doing our show the first time, of course. I really enjoyed your family, and I can tell if we were to live in the same place, we would probably be really great friends and see you guys a lot. So it's just good having you here.
We feel like we already know you, Erica. We do.
Yeah. Well, if we ever do go on a pilgrimage, we'll have to go together.
Yes, we'll have to.
All right. Well, today we're really glad to have you because you're a married couple, and it's perfect for the World Meeting of Families. Starts today, and the papal visit, and there's such a focus on families. So it's been really great, perfect timing to have you guys here. And we'll be talking a little bit more about the World Meeting of Families and giving you guys a little bit more time to share about your experiences as a family with special needs. Before we get into that, though, I want to take a quick sponsor break. Today we have our first sponsor. We're so excited. So our sponsor today comes from Jake Frost. He's also a CatholicMom.com contributor. He's one of our CatholicMom.com dads, along with you, David. And we're really excited to have all these dads join us. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
And today, Jake is sponsoring the show in honor of his new book. And I'm getting it here. I'm pulling it up. It's called Catholic Dad, Mostly Funny Stories of Faith, Family, and Fatherhood. And there are about 52 stories, one for each week, that deal with mostly funny stories of family life and fatherhood. He probably put some inspiration in there too. And he really just wanted to give dads some encouragement and some comic relief in their day. And it sounds like a great book. Sarah Reiner, when she was with us, was saying that she literally was laughing so hard she cried. So I can't wait to get my own copy.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful.
Yeah. David, I'm sure you'd enjoy it too.
Yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to go get it. I know you can get it on a Kindle. It's only 99 cents, I saw, and then the paperback. So it sounds like a great, and of course, all the Christmas and everything's coming up. So it'd be perfect time for that.
Yes, definitely.
So good. Thanks again, Jake, for your sponsorship. And for those listening and watching, we do have some sponsorship slots open still, and the price is really ripe right now. So if you would like to support the CatholicMom.com community, the website, and the CM Hangout, and all of our different hosting fees that we've got here, please email Lisa, and we'd love to work with you. And you can email her at lisa@catholicmom.com. You can also email me, which is the onesimplemama@gmail.com. So thanks again, Jake. And all right, well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the World Meeting of Families. Okay. You guys are close in New Jersey. Are you planning on participating in any of the events?
Well, we might get over there. We might go over there tomorrow, actually, and check it out and see. There's so much excitement. All our television newscasters are talking all about it, and
road closures and massive transit delays.
And our governor has declared a state of emergency in anticipation of it. Mostly the traffic impacts are what they're all talking about. But you can't but turn on the news and you'll see something about the Pope and his visit, his upcoming visit, and the World Meeting of Families, and they definitely featured that yesterday on the news.
Yes.
So it's exciting to see this kind of attention.
It is. I love this time of, when the Pope was being elected, and now it's almost like the media kind of puts on their good behavior and they get really excited about the Pope, right. And they listen, and I just love it. Of course, there's probably comments that I don't pay attention to, but in general, it's interesting that people, they say the church is irrelevant, but here we are making a big to-do about the Pope coming, so it's exciting.
Right.
I think this Pope Francis, he reaches out to so many people. He cuts across all the sectarian borders and boundaries.
Mhm.
And he's just a genuine presence. He is truly the vicar of Christ, and he really represents that for our world, which I think really needs that.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, I really love everything that he has been saying, the focus on mercy and, leading with love, not just the rules. From love, that's where the rules come from. And I agree. He's been wonderful. So, and I was reading an article about something he said. He was in Cuba before coming to the States, and he had this, I'll link it in the show notes. He was talking about family and just how important family is.
Right.
And he said, in the family, it's where we can be ourselves. Sometimes we all go out when we're at church even, or out wherever we are, we kind of put on a little bit of a mask. But when you're with your family, you take the mask off and we can just be ourselves. Sometimes that can make things kind of difficult, when we let loose and let all of our behavior go out, but he's right. This is the family is where joy grows, and I love that the church has always put such a huge focus on supporting the family. It's wonderful.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's very nice.
I think too, when you think about our doctrine of the Trinity and that relational familial aspect of that, Father and Son, it's a wonderful reflection of families. Families become the image of what we think of when we think of God and the fullness of God.
Right.
Yes. It really is the perfect example. And I love the mission. The World Meeting of Families mission this year is the theme. Love is our mission, the family fully alive. Doesn't that just inspire you?
Yes.
Definitely.
It definitely does inspire us. Yes.
Kind of makes me excited, to be a family and support families. I love family. It's wonderful.
It really is where love is kindled.
Yeah, and Lisa Hendy's there. She's been tweeting and sharing on Facebook some of the things she's been doing, of course, making us all want to be there with her. So that's great. You guys get to join her tomorrow.
We hope so.
We hope so. We're going to try.
So. Yeah, it's our intention.
Good. And I know I think I mentioned this earlier, but I found out that you can actually, for those who don't have TV like myself, if you go to the World Meeting of Families website, they are doing a live stream of what's going on. So
we will check that out.
Good. Good. All right. Well, I want to give you guys time. I really want to hear all about your experience go ahead and you can just tell us, what is it that you're dealing with the special needs and how it's affected your marriage and family?
Okay. Well, Danielle is our third child, and she has autism. She's nonverbal, and I think her birth order helped us out because she got used to, with two older brothers, going to events, Cub Scout meetings and baseball games and picking them up from kindergarten, and she got used to going, and she just kind of integrated her into the family, as opposed to if maybe she had been our first child. It was a learning experience for us. But what do you want to add to that?
I think that having a child like Danielle, a child with special needs, really forces us to rely on one another, forces our family to turn its attention toward what's important and what matters. And I also think that we have to be careful too, because we don't want to neglect our other children, not give them the attention that they deserve. But because of the very real needs, when you have a child with special needs, of having to pay attention to them maybe immediately just to keep safety.
It's a real balance.
It's a balancing act.
You always feel like out of necessity in an hour that you're spending so much more of your time with your child with special needs, and you want to also balance that out with your, because we have 3 other children, and you want them to also feel that they're equally important to us and that their needs are also heard. So there was a period of time where that was very, very challenging. We really felt like we were on a balance beam, and carefully placing our steps that we were being equal with our children. Through the years, Danielle has improved in so many areas that is not as much of a concern. But that really, when you have more than one children, that really can be an issue.
Yeah. How old was Danielle when she was diagnosed, or has this been since she was little?
Well, Danielle will be 17 next month. In October, she turned 17. She was diagnosed officially at age 4 with autism. Prior to that, we had done the early intervention process, but we didn't actually have a diagnosis until she was 4. She had hit all of her developmental milestones on time, but she never talked. And so we knew at that point that that there was something there, because she didn't speak, but she was walking and crawling and doing everything else appropriately.
And some of the more the more autistic features didn't really become apparent until a little bit later, like like her wanting to look at objects that spin around, or she likes to flick her hands back and forth, and those kinds of motions. And so because of that, we weren't sure what it was, but we knew something was going on.
But Danielle, even though she does not speak expressively, receptively, she has a very high ability to understand language. So she understands the spoken word, and but she's not able to express it in words. She uses very effectively some augmentative communication. She uses a machine. She's also familiar with some sign language. Anything that's picture-based, she can understand.
The machine is fun. It's a device that's like a little computer or a little tablet, actually, and it has icons or little pictures. They're called icons, and she touches them to make sentences, and then it speaks in a voice, which is nice to hear.
She's sitting right next to me right now, so if you hear some noises, it's her. She's home from school.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, Danielle. That's great.
Put your head in and say hi.
Hello.
She's just sitting here happily.
That's great. I was going to ask you, what was it? We kind of talked about this earlier. I'm going to ask it in a different way. What was it like for you for your marriage when you got the diagnosis, and maybe in those early years dealing with this realization that this was what your life was going to be like with her? How did that affect you?
This was a big impact. It's a life-altering experience. Nobody wishes to become a family of a child with special needs. Well, some people do. Some people will adopt children with special needs, but we didn't. And so for us, it hit us totally, out of the blue. And what it was this. All of a sudden, everything we kind of knew about ourselves changed. And all parents are limited in the freedoms that they have, to just do anything they want. But when you have a child with special needs, all of a sudden it's even more of an impact. So we felt increasingly isolated, and increasingly it felt like, we were withdrawing from family, from friends, from relatives, and the like you'd go to a party for your niece, let's say, and all the kids would be paying attention to an activity, like for instance maybe a lady making balloons and tying them into shapes and that kind of thing. But I'd look, and there would be Danielle, and she'd be sitting in another room watching the same video over and over again. And so that kind of was very discouraging and very isolating.
Yeah, it impacts a lot. It impacts your ability to go out. It impacts your ability to be as a couple. But it's not all negative. It also, I think it's been our greatest trial in our lives, but I also think it's been our greatest blessing. There's been so many opportunities that we've been open to, and I think I have been a more compassionate person, and I think our children have benefited that as well. Things are not always what they seem. Even now, when you encounter someone with special needs, we're so much more clued into it. I think we were so much more naive with that earlier before Danielle. So I think it's, it has been, it still is. There's days it's very challenging, very difficult, but it also, there's days where you feel like you've been given a huge gift.
Yeah. The families I know in my parish and elsewhere that have children with special needs, you kind of watch the process, the initial shock, really. They don't know what to say. No one knows what to say to them. But then I see them kind of go through this ring of fire, so to say. And when they come out of it, they're just so strong. And they kind of return from battlefields sort of strong. But
that's a good image. Yeah. That's a very good way to look at it. I think there's a huge, it's like trial by fire in some ways. It's a great opportunity for personal growth and development too, because you don't grow without challenge. If things are, you do need to rise to the occasion, and the soldier in battlefield is a pretty good image, I think, of it.
But I think it's brought us closer together in a lot of ways. We've learned to be an advocate for her. We're always advocating for services, just working out logistics of childcare. You have her now. I have a meeting tonight. You're watching her. I think we've come to rely on each other a lot more than maybe had we not had a child with special needs. But then
we had to be a team.
Yeah, but then there's the opposite end where you feel like, at this point in our lives with children in high school and college, we should be kind of a little more empty nesting, and that's not really going to be the case. Danielle, we always have to have coverage on her and someone to babysit. So you are limited in that respects, but like even today, when we knew we were going to tape the show, like we try to take advantage of that, and maybe like we had lunch or something together that we normally wouldn't had. So maybe you don't go out at night to a restaurant when she's home, but you can, work it into things like that. Like we had to go to a meeting at her school, try to get breakfast or coffee or something. So you can be creative and work around it.
Find those opportunities when you can be together without kids, talk about anything but being a special needs parent sometimes, and that's nice. And if there was anything I learned, it was I would have liked to have learned this earlier and spent more time trying to, kind of cement ourselves as a couple and forget about being, special needs caretakers. You can lose that's essence of a marriage, and it can become a little bit of, hey, what's going on with Danielle today,
We, for years, you might be able to hear her in the background making a couple of squeals now, but for years, we were, we never got a break. We never took a break. And then we knew about a camp that was for special needs children, and we were really afraid to send her. And it was an overnight camp. And I think one day we had just reached our limit with it. She was about 12 or 13, and we signed her up to go to this camp. And she really was well cared for. It was a wonderful experience, but it gave us like a rejuvenation that we needed. So then we started to look at it like that would have been, if we had had a do-over, that would have been something we had done when we got the diagnosis earlier. We would have tried to find ways to give us a break and let us, be a couple once in a while than always being, thrown into autism.
Yeah, I know there was a nice 1 week camp, and she goes every summer now, and she really looks forward to it. And it's
all special needs.
It's all kids with special needs, and it's a lot of fun. And it gives us the opportunity to connect not only with ourselves as a couple, but with our other children too over that week.
And we do things that we not necessarily would be a little more challenging to do with Danielle.
Yeah. So, sounds like you guys have really learned a lot throughout the years, and you've grown in wisdom, and I'm so glad that you're sharing these wise lessons that you've learned.
Well, definitely. I mean, we're glad to have the opportunity to talk to others about it. And I know many young parents of children with special needs too. They're in that really tough stage. When just the other day we were at a fair of it's a radio show called Everything Special Needs that that's local, and that we go, and the dad was watching their child with autism, and it just reminded me of where I was, back in the early days. And you know, and it was like, well, it's good to be able to give them a little hope.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this question Sarah had asked earlier, and I thought it was a great question as far as catechism and helping our children to grow up in the faith. You know, it's hard enough no matter where we are with our kids. I'm sure you have found maybe some extra challenges with this. How have you helped catechize Danielle even with her special needs, or how has her special needs maybe even helped it be easier or better? I'm just going to let you talk about that.
Well, being our third child, you know, we had already had two sons that made their sacraments, their first communion, and we were really unaware that there were children that would require some type of modifications in order to make their sacraments. But you know, because of Danielle's lack of language, we really knew early on, like maybe 5 years old, we were starting to prepare her. And what we learned is that she needed something to help a child who can't read and who can't speak. And we got more involved with how do you want to elaborate on that?
You know, we learned that we had to adapt the materials, so we had to use pictures whenever possible, and that we had to shorten the lessons and make them maybe focus on one topic, a much narrower topic than conventional catechism would. We also learned that most of the catechism is going to take place in real life. It's going to either take place around our kitchen table, or it's going to take place when we maybe go to a church and look at stained glass windows, or, you know, when we're celebrating you know, Christmas together as a family or some such, and praying at meals or blessing ourselves.
Well, we started with Danielle is we even had to work with unconsecrated hosts in our home. We had to prepare, we had to pair an unconsecrated host with something she preferred to eat, because we had to even start with the understanding that this is, you know, very special, this is very important, you have to have reverent receipt. So that, you know, we took things in little steps. I don't even know how long we worked on that, but we worked on that for a really long time. And, you know, little things like blessing herself and getting her to stay in a mass to work up. We had to work up to an hour. It wasn't like we walked in and she cooperated. Now she's doing that, but she's 16. But we feel that she's made the sacrament of Holy Communion, First Reconciliation, and Confirmation. And as she's added a sacrament, and as we continue to bring her back, we've seen graces being received from those sacraments. Her behavior in church is, I mean, it's hard to distinguish her from someone who's not disabled now. But before, it was crystal clear. Everybody in the church knew it, you know, that she had autism or something. But I think we've just it's been trial and error. And then there are times where we go and it's not going to work, but they're so few and far between. And I think the secret for us was coming back, keep coming back, even if it's a bad week. You know, we've done a lot. We've used a lot of adaptive materials. We've made her part of our family. This is what we do. We go to church. Do you want to talk about this, Father Phil, and how he said to come as a family?
That's a good story. What happened was early on in the process. Early on in the process, what happened was I had said to our pastor, Father Phil, hey, you know, maybe we should trade on and off, where I'll come to church with the other kids, and then I'll come home and take care of Danielle while Mercedes goes to church, and we would trade on and off. And he said, no, don't do that. Come to church as a family. That's the very, very important aspect of worship, is that you pray as a family at church. And so he didn't want us to do that technique. And we were like, oh gosh, this is going to make things really hard. What are people going to say? And he said, I don't care what they say. He said, you know, you come as a family. That's the most important thing. So I was very happy with that, and I was very
She's
glad.
in the other room now, so hopefully that'll work.
Oh,
better.
that is beautiful. And Mercedes, I think it's great that she's there. I think everyone's going to love hearing her. So she was not bothering.
Oh, there's nothing noise. She's making some noise.
No, I thought it was perfect, actually. So don't feel bad about it at all.
It this way, Erica, that she wasn't here earlier when we were trying to date.
No, you know what, though? I think this is what it was supposed to be. Let the children come, even the ones who are making noise.
Exactly.
Wasn't that this weekend's reading? Yes.
Exactly. And he did it. Oh, man.
You make a good point with that, too, because we've been in church and we're always, we try to be respectful of everyone around us and them to have quiet private time. And, we would always be in fear. Is she going to squeal when the host is being held up? Or, what is she going to, do? And there are days where, we have to gauge it. Like, we still take her. We have nieces now that are getting married. Maybe that's the day we choose to go in the crying room because we wouldn't want her to, do something. But regular, when we go weekly mass, we try it. We take her.
And it's so. You go, Erica.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, because you're talking about this already. How do you think the church in general and parishes, pastors, how can we and families who don't have children with special needs, how can we help families like yours be included in the church family? How can we help you participate and not feel, you mentioned feeling really isolated earlier. What can we do to help families like you not feel like that? We want you to feel like you can come to Mass. How can we support families like yours more?
Well, I would say that people are treating us much more like a part of the parish community now that autism has become more understood and there's more, everybody knows somebody or has friends with a child with autism or something. But I think just being present to us, withholding judgment, sort of erring on the side of perhaps this is from a disability as opposed to this is just because of bad parenting or something like that. In the beginning, I sometimes felt like, I had to sink down in the pew because everybody was thinking that, we were the worst parents in the world. But, I think people are learning. But just, basically look at it and say, this is probably not just bad parenting. This is probably a sign of disability. Because there's a big difference between irreverence and disability. And children with autism and other disabilities, they're just being themselves. They're not being irreverent. There's no malice to, a lack of eye contact or making a funny noise or a squeal or,
Especially when she to extend her hand in peace. To us, that's actually miraculous because there was a time where she wouldn't even do that, or she wouldn't approximate the word peace. She doesn't say the word peace like you or I would say it, but she might make a gesture which we clearly understand to be peace, but maybe the person receiving it doesn't really get it, and maybe just not be quick to judge and think she's being funny or silly or irreverent. That's that really is a miraculous step that she's gotten that far. So I think it's made us a little more aware now, and our children aware of this is probably a case of special needs as opposed to like David said, bad parenting or something like that. So just maybe withholding judgment, thinking a little bit. I know there were times where we would walk into the church and be scouting, like, where is there somebody that looks compassionate that we can sit near? Are we too close to this organ? Are we too far away from the organ? Are we close to an exit? Like maybe just, being that compassionate person sitting in the pew if a family with special needs will come in.
Yeah, that's great. And I think there are so many more families, not just with autism, but you're thinking, high functioning autism or Asperger's, where from what it looks from the outside, the child looks normal. And so a lot of families might not understand why this boy or girl who looks to be 12 or 14, why they're not participating or why they're moving around a lot. I think what you're saying is that we need to just take a step back and try to understand before we just judge.
Yes.
Definitely, and we were on that side too. We recall being younger before we had Danielle, and we would go to a crying room because our boys were very young at the time. And there was this young lady, and she had 4 children she would bring to Mass, and 2 were in a double stroller. They were very young in age. And
Two were walking.
two of them were walking, and these kids, one in particular, but two of them were very lively and very, chaotic in the crying room. And we would like look at ourselves and say, wow, this lady is tough. She just must not discipline her children well, or she's not a good parent, whatever. Our worst uncharitable moments would say that. And then what it was this.
Now we can look back and say, remember that lady in the crying room 15 years ago? I think her child had autism or something. Like, we got a glimpse. That was really preparing us for our own future. And, we really considered ourselves to be very judgmental and incorrect in assessing the situation. But it's very clear to us now, what was going on there.
It's a learning curve for everyone. It's a learning curve for parents of children with special needs. It's a learning curve for parents of typical children, for parents of typical children who may one day be parents of children with special needs. So it's for society too, and for the church, and we're all in a state of learning, and and it's a great opportunity for us to learn to see Christ in others, to learn to see Christ in the least of these,
Right.
And it's just it's something that is hard and everybody struggles with, but there's a reason, there's a divine wisdom somewhere in it.
Right.
I'm glad that we have families and couples like you who are sharing your story, because I think the more we hear about your experience, the more comfortable people will feel going to Mass, with their children with special needs together as a family. The more comfortable those of us without special needs children will feel welcoming you and not feeling like we don't know what to say. And the church hearing your stories, it helps the pastors, it helps our priests, it helps them know what we can do, to welcome all families. So I'm so glad that you've been here. I would love to talk with you more. I probably should kind of finish up here. We're past our 30 minutes. So when we had Sarah here, I had asked her to say a prayer. David, would it put you on the spot too much if I asked you to lead us in a quick closing prayer?
No, it's fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, go ahead.
Well, let's begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear God, thank you for this opportunity for fellowship, to talk about what's on our hearts and our minds, struggles, and also all the wonderful things that we've learned and that are happening in our lives. Most importantly, thank us for all the children with special needs. May they be a wonderful opportunity to see Christ in all people and in all things. Amen.
Amen.
Of the Son and of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for your inspiration and your example to both of you, David and Mercedes. Where can people follow you and find and keep up with what your family's doing?
Well, we have a Facebook page. It's called Autism with the Rizzos. We have a Twitter account, Dave and Mercedes, and our books, Spiritually Able, Faith, Family, Children, Special Needs, are available through Loyola Press. Anything else?
I think that's
I guess through Catholic Mom.
Catholic Mom.
Our email is on the Catholic Mom site.
Yes, yeah. And if families have questions for you, would it be okay if they emailed you?
Oh, that'd be wonderful. We always feel it gives us meaning to the autism if we can reach out and help someone. So absolutely, we would welcome that. Great.
Well, thanks again for being with us here on the CM Hangout. Once we get this definitely recorded and posted, we'll get it up on the YouTube and the podcast, and people can watch the CM Hangout on the YouTube channel and through iTunes. They can subscribe. I have an Android. I'm not cool enough to have an iPhone, I suppose, but I have the Podcast Addict app, and that works just fine. So maybe I don't need an iPhone after all. So that's where I listen to, and you can subscribe there. We'll also have the show notes on CatholicMom.com. And so anyone have any questions or comments, they can email Lisa@CatholicMom.com, and we would love to hear feedback. So thanks again, David and Mercedes.
We really enjoyed it. It was wonderful.
All right. Well, stay tuned for the next Tuesday. We'll be here back again with the CAM Hangout.